The rain lashed against the grimy windows of the Rover's return, each droplet a percussive beat against the mournful silence that had descended upon Coronation Street. It was a silence born not of peace, but of a chilling uncertainty, a creeping dread that had begun to seep into the very foundations of Weatherfield. The vibrant, bustling hub of the street, usually alive with laughter and the clinking of glasses, now felt like a tomb. Inside, amidst the flickering gaslight and the half-empty pint glasses, a tension crackled, as palpable as the storm raging outside. Dev Allahan, his face etched with worry lines that seemed to deepen by the minute, nervously clutched a mobile phone, its screen a beacon of the missing Will's smiling face. His eyes, usually warm and brimming with good humor, were now shadowed with a fear that threatened to consume him whole. Maggie, the usually stoic and sharp-witted landlady, wrung her hands, her gaze fixed on the storm-tossed street, as if expecting the missing boy to materialize out of the driving rain. The air was thick with unspoken fears, with a lingering scent of stale ale and the metallic tang of something far more sinister, despair. This wasn't just a missing child, this was a chasm opening up beneath their feet, threatening to swallow them all. The disappearance of young William, a mere 15-year-old, wasn't just a local drama, it was a wound ripped open in the heart of the community. Dev and Sunita, Will's adoptive parents, were a portrait of agonizing parental love and escalating panic. Dev, a man known for his jovial nature and business acumen, was a shadow of his former self, his mind a relentless loop of what-ifs. He paced the length of his living room, each step heavy with unspoken guilt, the transcript of Will's coach's report playing on repeat in his head, dropped him off at the station. How could a boy vanish into thin air between Hull and Manchester? His desperation led him to a desperate measure. He pressed play on a voice recording he'd secretly made, a chilling conversation between himself and a now missing family member. He didn't want to move, and we all know it. The words, laced with an unnerving prescience, now sounded like a death knell. Was Will's disappearance a calculated act of rebellion, a desperate plea to return to a life he'd been forced to abandon? The thought tore at Dev, reminding him of the constant push and pull between his ambition for a better life and Will's quiet resentment of the move. Meanwhile, Ben Driscoll, the enigmatic new landlord whose arrival had already stirred the calm waters of Weatherfield, found himself unexpectedly entangled in the web of despair. His effortless charm and casual demeanor, which had initially endeared him to some and infuriated others, were now overshadowed by a quiet resolve. He had taken it upon himself to head to Hull, a lone wolf on a desperate hunt, navigating the labyrinthine streets where Will was last seen. The irony wasn't lost on the cynical Tracy Barlow, who, despite her sharp tongue, found herself grudgingly impressed by his dedication. The ping incident from the previous night, an innocent if somewhat awkward gesture from Ben to David Platt, now seemed a distant memory, overshadowed by the grim reality. David, however, nursed a different kind of wound. His pride, already bruised by Ben's perceived condescension, was now exacerbated by the revelation of his stolen rugby shirt. A prized possession, a relic of a glorious past at Lansdowne Road, its absence felt like another personal affront. David, a man prone to explosive reactions, simmered with a potent cocktail of anger and suspicion. He was convinced Ben was behind the theft, a petty act of revenge, a childish taunt. His wife, Shona, tried to reason with him, painting Ben as a man with a bite, unpredictable and not to be underestimated. But David, blinded by his wounded ego, refused to listen, his mind already formulating a confrontation that promised to be as fiery as his temper. The tension in the Rovers was thick enough to cut with a knife. Maggie, ever the pragmatist, had called the police, but the initial report was vague, a mere formality. "It's happened before," she'd relayed, a chilling detail that now resonated with a sinister undertone. What exactly had happened before? A previous runaway attempt, a cry for help, or something far more sinister, a dark secret lurking beneath the surface of Will's seemingly normal life? The questions hung heavy in the air, unanswered, festering like a wound. In the quiet confines of her home, Carla Connor grappled with a different kind of storm, the tempestuous return of Becky, a ghost from her past, and the shocking revelation of a renewed connection between Becky and Lisa. The transcript of their conversation was a brutal symphony of raw emotions. "You kissed me. You kissed her." The words echoed in Carla's mind, a painful reminder of a past she thought was long buried. Becky, a woman resurrected from a presumed death, was a force of nature, her determination to reclaim Lisa a hurricane in Carla's carefully constructed world. "The eyes always tell the truth," Becky had declared, a chilling pronouncement that struck at the core of Carla's insecurities. Becky spoke of a liberating life incognito, a life lived with Lisa in Venice, a fantastical existence that seemed to mock Carla's reality. The mention of government-sponsored false identities and lavish villas sent a shiver down Carla's spine. Was this a genuine attempt to win Lisa back, or a carefully orchestrated manipulation, a dangerous game played with human hearts? Lisa, torn between her past and present, found herself caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Her past with Becky, a life lived on the fringes, was alluring, yet terrifying. The promise of a shared future in Spain, of dodging the system and living under the radar, offered a seductive escape. We could live under the radar. Hide in a cave, maybe, Lisa had mused, her voice tinged with a longing for a simpler, albeit illegal, existence. Carla, ever the pragmatist, saw through the romanticized fantasy, laying bare the harsh realities of such a life. You would have to trade everything for the life that she's promising. You would be as good as on the run. The conflict between these three women was not merely a love triangle, it was a clash of ideologies, of dreams versus reality. Carla, grounded in the real world, fought to keep Lisa from succumbing to Becky's seductive, albeit dangerous, vision. The future of Betsy, Lisa's 18-year-old daughter, hung precariously in the balance. Betsy, seemingly caught up in the romanticized notion of an adventure abroad, dismissed Carla's concerns as being patronized and condescended to. The revelation of Becky's lavish villa and her seemingly endless resources sparked a sinister thought in Carla's mind. Could Becky's return be more than just a quest for lost love? Was there a darker, more intricate plan at play, a hidden agenda disguised as romance? The thought was unsettling, a cold whisper of a conspiracy that threatened to unravel the very fabric of their lives. Back at the Rovers, the news of Will's continued absence cast a long shadow over the residents. The street chat, usually a lively forum for local gossip and community announcements, had transformed into a frantic virtual search party. Dev, desperate, posted a picture of Will, pleading for anyone with information to come forward. The pinging, buzzing of his phone, usually a source of irritation, was now a lifeline, each notification a glimmer of hope or a fresh wave of anxiety. Tracy Barlow, meanwhile, was on the warpath. Her fury, a force of nature when unleashed, was directed squarely at Ben. The unplugged phone at the streetcar's office, a seemingly innocuous detail, became a weapon in her arsenal. She accused him of sabotaging her business, of deliberately hindering their taxi service. She was kicking off about some wine I bought for her dad, Ben explained, his voice laced with a weird resignation. The wine, a gesture meant to placate Tracy's father, had only fueled her wrath. The truth, however, was far more complex. Tracy's jealousy of Ben's easy charm and the admiration he garnered from her father and estranged husband, Steve, was a festering wound. Her dad likes me. Her husband likes me. Estranged. And even her daughter likes me, Ben had casually, and perhaps unwisely, stated, further igniting Tracy's resentment. Her threats were chilling, laced with a venom that hinted at a deeper, more manipulative streak. I'd keep an eye on those bouquets you keep in front of the shop. 'Cause you wouldn't want anyone snipping their heads off while you're not looking, would you? It was a veiled warning, a promise of petty sabotage, a glimpse into the darker corners of Tracy's mind. Tim, caught in the crossfire between his fiery wife and his new acquaintance, found himself playing the reluctant peacemaker, his attempts to mediate only adding to the chaos. The discovery of a cryptic message in Will's school bag. Thanks for last night. You understand me so well. Kiss, kiss. Sent a fresh wave of alarm through Dev and Sunita. The sender was unknown, adding another layer of mystery to Will's disappearance. Was this a clue to a secret romance, a clandestine meeting gone awry, or something far more sinister, a message from a captor? Sunita, usually composed, unraveled at the thought, her mind racing through every possible, horrifying scenario. If anything's happened to that boy, you'll regret the day you came here. And I'll make sure of that, she threatened, her voice shaking with a mother's fierce protectiveness, a direct threat to Ben. The old Cal Nazir tragedy, a dark chapter in Weatherfield's history, resurfaced in a chilling conversation between Cassie and an unknown interlocutor. Like when you killed Cal Nazir, Cassie's accuser had sneered, a reminder of a past many had tried to forget. Cassie vehemently denied it, claiming it was an accident and a tragedy. But the words hung in the air, a persistent whisper of guilt, a hint that her past was far more complex and dangerous than she let on. As the hours bled into a new day, the search for Will intensified. Ben, having returned from Hull with no success, joined Kirk, a kind-hearted driver from streetcars, in a desperate sweep of Victoria Station. The possibility of Will having simply missed his train, or worse, boarded the wrong one, became a chilling reality. Dev's memory of Will ending up in Redcar instead of Middlesbrough for the Tees Valley Games fueled his growing fear Will was prone to misdirection, a trait that now felt like a ticking time bomb. If you want my opinion? He's up to something. I reckon he never got on that train, or any other train. He's making a protest, an unknown voice theorized on the street chat, a desperate attempt to rationalize the unthinkable. Meanwhile, the dynamic between Carla, Lisa, and Becky reached a breaking point. The idea of living under the radar in Spain, once a romantic fantasy for Lisa, now felt like a suffocating cage. Hide in a cave, maybe. Give up her jobs, our home, our cars. Yeah. She was right, "You are a nightmare when you get like this," Lisa had finally conceded, the harsh reality of Becky's proposal stripping away the last vestiges of its allure. The pipe dream of a life on the run, a life outside the law, began to crumble under the weight of logic and the grim realities of Brexit. Carla, ever the voice of reason, seized the opportunity to expose Becky's manipulation. She challenged Becky's claims of a lavish life, forcing her to admit, "It's not that lavish." The carefully constructed facade of Becky's glamorous existence began to crack, revealing a vulnerability that Carla expertly exploited. "If you don't want her to stay with me forever, let her come for 90 days. Carla's calculated concession was a strategic move, a temporary truce that bought her time to chip away at Becky's influence and ultimately win Lisa back. The episode concluded with a chilling cliffhanger. Dev, on the verge of despair, received a frantic call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was distorted, a chilling whisper that sent shivers down his spine. "You think he's gone missing? He's not. He's here. And he's changed." The line went dead, leaving Dev in a state of terror. The phone, still clutched in his trembling hand, vibrated with a single, ominous text message, an image of a dimly lit, unfamiliar room, and in the background, a figure shrouded in shadow, its face obscured. Was it Will? And what did changed truly mean? The rain continues to fall, but the storm now rages within Weatherfield. Dev, consumed by the chilling phone call and the cryptic image, launches a frantic, unauthorized search for Will, convinced that his son has been abducted. He clashes with the police, their bureaucratic methods clashing with his desperate paternal instincts. Ben Driscoll, haunted by a past he's desperately tried to bury, offers a startling revelation to Maggie, a detail that connects him to the very heart of Will's disappearance. His enigmatic demeanor begins to unravel, revealing a man burdened by secrets and a hidden connection to the criminal underworld. The lavish villa Becky spoke of isn't just a holiday home, it's a safe house, a lair of a notorious international crime syndicate that specializes in human trafficking and identity theft. Becky, once a victim, has become a key player, her resurrection a carefully orchestrated scheme to lure Lisa and Betsy into a life of crime, preying on their vulnerability and desire for a new beginning. Tracy Barlow, fueled by her bitter resentment towards Ben, takes her threats to a terrifying new level. The floral bouquets in front of the streetcar's office are found brutally decapitated, a chilling message left in their place, a single, blood-red rose, its thorns piercing a photograph of Ben. But the real target of her rage is far more personal, as she orchestrates a brutal attack on David Platt, leaving him battered and bruised, his precious rugby shirt torn to shreds, a symbolic act of revenge that spirals out of control. Carla, sensing the escalating danger, confronts Becky, accusing her of a deeper, more sinister agenda. Becky, cornered, reveals a shocking truth: Will isn't missing, he's been recruited. He's a pawn in a larger game, a young, impressionable mind lured into a life of crime, his protest a carefully manipulated charade. The mysterious kiss message in Will's school bag isn't from a lover, but a code, a signal from his new handlers. The episode culminates in a heart-stopping chase through the rain-soaked streets of Weatherfield. Dev, guided by a cryptic message from an anonymous source, a former contact from Becky's past, now seeking redemption, races against time to reach a derelict warehouse on the outskirts of town. Inside, Will, his eyes glazed with a chilling emptiness, is undergoing a terrifying transformation, a brutal induction into the syndicate. The silhouette in the image from the previous night is revealed to be a shadowy figure, a ruthless enforcer, who leads the sinister operation. As Dev bursts through the doors, he's met with a horrifying sight. Will, no longer the innocent boy he knew, stands amidst a group of hardened criminals, his face etched with a newfound coldness. The final scene shows Dev, face to face with his son, now a stranger, his plea for Will to return home met with a chilling, detached gaze. The question that hangs in the air is not just whether Will can be saved, but whether the boy Dev knew still exists, or if he has been lost forever to the dark allure of a life lived on the wrong side of the law. The rain continues to fall, washing away the innocence of Coronation Street, leaving behind only the chilling echoes of a shattered family and a future shrouded in uncertainty. The metallic clang of the warehouse door reverberated through the vast, echoing space, a sound that sliced through Dev Allahan's heart like a shard of ice. His breath hitched in his throat, each gasp ragged and shallow, as his eyes, wide with horror, fixated on the scene before him. The dimly lit interior, reeking of stale industrial dust and the cloying scent of something acrid, was a stage for his worst nightmare. Will, his son, stood at the center of a menacing tableau, no longer the vibrant, mischievous boy Dev remembered. His posture was rigid, his gaze vacant, and his face, usually alive with youthful energy, was now a mask of chilling indifference. He wore a dark, oversized hoodie, the hood pulled low, casting his features into shadow, but Dev could still discern the subtle, almost imperceptible shift in his son's eyes, a flicker of something cold, something utterly alien. Around Will, a group of figures moved with a predatory grace, their faces obscured by the shadows and the low-brimmed caps they wore. They were not just men, they were apparitions, ghosts of a criminal underworld Dev had only ever glimpsed in sensational headlines. One figure, taller and more imposing than the rest, stepped forward, a glint of metal catching the sparse light from a high window, a tattoo, a serpentine dragon coiling up his neck, its eyes seemingly burning into Dev's soul. This was the enforcer, the puppet master, the man who had stolen his son. The air crackled with a malevolent energy, a silent threat that promised dire consequences for any defiance. Dev, for the first time in his life, felt a fear so profound it threatened to paralyze him, a fear not for his own life, but for the soul of his child. Dev's desperate plea for Will to return home was met with a silence that screamed louder than any shout. The enforcer, a man known only as the Serpent in the shadowy circles of the syndicate, stepped forward, a sneer playing on his lips. "He's not a boy anymore, Allahan. He's ours." His voice was a low growl, devoid of any human warmth, a chilling pronouncement that solidified Dev's worst fears. Will, his eyes still distant, remained motionless, a puppet on invisible strings. The Serpent revealed the syndicate's true intent. They had been watching Will for months, preying on his resentment towards the move to Manchester, exploiting his youthful vulnerability. His protest wasn't a choice, it was a carefully orchestrated manipulation, a bait to draw him into their web. The Serpent then delivered a chilling ultimatum. Will could return home, but the price would be Dev's entire fortune, every penny he had painstakingly built. If Dev refused, Will would remain with the syndicate, groomed to become a cold, calculating soldier in their ranks, his future irrevocably altered. The choice was a torment, a Sophie's choice that tore at Dev's very being. Could he sacrifice his life's work for his son's freedom, knowing that even free, Will might never truly be the same? Meanwhile, Ben Driscoll, driven by a gnawing guilt and a past he couldn't escape, found himself drawn deeper into the unfolding drama. His startling revelation to Maggie at the Rovers was a confession. He had once been entangled with the Serpent's syndicate, a past he'd paid a heavy price to escape. He knew their methods, their ruthlessness, and their insatiable hunger for power. He revealed that Becky's lavish villa in Alicante was not just a safe house, but a central hub for the syndicate's human trafficking operations, a grotesque network that lured vulnerable individuals with promises of a new life, only to enslave them. Becky, far from being a victim, was a crucial cog in their machinery, her charm and manipulative charisma used to ensnare new recruits, especially impressionable youth like Will. Her resurrection was a calculated move, a final, dangerous mission to bring Lisa and Betsy into the fold, a twisted family reunion orchestrated for the syndicate's gain. The news hit Lisa like a tidal wave. The romanticized image of a life on the run shattered, replaced by the horrifying reality of human exploitation. Her dreams of a new beginning with Becky curdled into a nightmare. She confronted Becky in a furious, tear-filled showdown, but Becky, cold and unyielding, merely laughed. "You think I came back for love, Lisa? You were always so naive." Becky revealed her true motives: revenge against Carla, a woman she blamed for her own downfall, and the opportunity to secure a more permanent place within the syndicate, using Lisa and Betsy as collateral. Tracy Barlow's vengeful attack on David Platt sent shockwaves through the street. David, his face bruised and his spirit broken by the destruction of his treasured rugby shirt, swore revenge. But his anger quickly turned to a chilling realization. Tracy's meticulous planning, her almost surgical precision in her acts of sabotage, hinted at something more than just petty spite. Could she be connected to the Serpent, a hidden pawn in a larger game, her seemingly random acts of cruelty masking a deeper, more sinister purpose? The thought was unsettling, painting Tracy in a terrifying new light, a villain far more complex and dangerous than anyone had imagined. Carla, witnessing the escalating chaos, finally pieced together the fragments of Becky's deception. She confronted Becky in a tense, emotionally charged scene. "You're not saving anyone, Becky. You're destroying them," Carla spat, her voice laced with a mixture of disgust and sorrow. Becky, however, remained unfazed, her eyes glinting with a chilling triumph. She revealed that her plan was to use Betsy's perceived vulnerability to force Lisa into compliance, knowing that Lisa's maternal instincts would override any lingering doubts. The street chat, once a source of comfort and community, became a battleground of fear and speculation. Dev, his heart heavy, posted the Serpent's ultimatum, igniting a furious debate. Some urged him to pay, others to fight. The community, once united, now fractured under the weight of an impossible decision. Back at the warehouse, Dev, desperate for any sign of his son's true self, tried to reach Will, whispering stories of their life, their shared laughter, their simple moments of joy. Will's eyes flickered, a momentary tremor betraying a glimmer of the boy Dev knew. But the Serpent, observing from the shadows, stepped in, a silent gesture to his enforcers. Will was led away, Deeper into the dark recesses of the warehouse, a chilling visual of his slipping humanity. The episode ended with a close-up on Dev's face, a single tear tracing a path through the grime and despair. He knew he couldn't pay the Serpent's ransom. Not because he valued money over his son, but because he knew it would only empower the Syndicate, condemning countless others to Will's fate. He had to fight, not just for Will, but for everyone. But how could one man, alone, stand against a shadowy organization that reached across continents, an organization that had already stolen his son's soul? The stakes are higher than ever as Dev Allahan, fueled by a father's unwavering love and a burning desire for justice, devises a desperate plan to rescue Will. He enlists the help of an unlikely ally, Ben Driscoll, whose intimate knowledge of the Serpent's syndicate becomes their greatest weapon. Ben, grappling with his own demons, agrees to help, but warns Dev of the ultimate sacrifice he might have to make. Meanwhile, Lisa, her heart shattered by Becky's betrayal, turns to Carla for comfort and guidance. Together, they hatch a daring plan to expose Becky's true identity and her connection to the Serpent, using Betsy as an unwitting pawn in their dangerous game. Betsy, still clinging to the romanticized ideal of a life abroad, finds herself caught in a web of lies and deceit, her innocence hanging precariously in the balance. Tracy Barlow's vengeful attacks escalate, drawing the attention of the authorities, who begin to suspect a larger, more organized criminal element at play. David Platt, his body recovering but his spirit still scarred, makes a shocking discovery that links Tracy's recent acts of sabotage to a coded message from the Serpent, revealing her as a low-level operative within the Syndicate, a bitter woman willing to do anything to gain power and recognition. The episode culminates in a high-octane confrontation at Becky's Alicante villa. Dev and Ben, using information gleaned from Ben's past contacts, infiltrate the lavish, yet sinister, hideout. They discover a hidden chamber, a chilling processing center where new recruits, including Will, are indoctrinated and prepared for their new lives. As Dev confronts Will, a glimmer of his son's former self emerges, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. But the Serpent and his enforcers arrive, a brutal firefight erupting in the villa. Lisa and Carla, arriving with the authorities, create a diversion, allowing Dev and Ben a desperate chance to escape with Will. The episode ends with a dramatic cliffhanger. As Dev and Will attempt to flee through the labyrinthine corridors of the villa, the Serpent intercepts them, his serpentine dragon tattoo seeming to writhe in the dim light. A single gunshot rings out, and one of the main characters collapses, leaving their fate, and the future of Coronation Street, hanging in the balance. Is it Dev, Ben, or even Will himself? The answer will unfold in a pulse-pounding finale, as the residents of Weatherfield are forced to confront the true cost of love, loyalty, and the relentless pursuit of justice.